Hey guys, back with another video for you today. I've got Joe back here in the studio.
Back again. Hello.
So we are finally doing our part 2 of MICALLEF fragrances. And MICALLEF, we've got 5 more fragrances to talk to you guys about today. If you want to find out about them, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. That's Joe.
Hello, hello, people.
He's dressed very warm while I'm dressed normal.
It's not cold in the studio, but I figured it's wintertime. Might as well dress the part, you know?
I should have dressed the part too.
In another video.
Yeah. So we did a video some months ago on MICALLEF fragrances. There were several in that video, and we mentioned that we were going to do a part 2 with more fragrances from the house. So that's what we're doing today. We've got 5 fragrances we're going to talk to you about. And actually, this collection of fragrances are pretty good, huh?
Yeah. No, it was a little bit difficult to do the... There's 5 fragrances, if I'm not mistaken, and it was kind of tricky to actually get them all ranked.
Yeah. So in the last video, we spoke about Red Colorado, which both of us didn't really care for. But here, it's a pretty solid collection of 5 different fragrances. We've got Delice, we've got GnTonic, Osaito, Royal Muska, and Soleil Passion. So we're going to start off with Delice.
Oh, yeah.
From MICALLEF. MICALLEF. Are you guys familiar with this house?
You are.
Are you familiar with this house?
Oh, yeah. Well, from that initial review that we did, how many weeks ago was that? Maybe like months ago at this point.
Yeah, I think it was around September, October when we aired that video.
Yeah.
But this is Delice right here. It's a most gorgeous bottle. I love this bottle.
Quite lovely.
Yeah. So this one is created by Jean-Claude Astier, and it features notes of oud, plums, nutmeg, bay leaves, cinnamon, vanilla, rose, and oranges. And what are your thoughts on this one?
It caught my nose the moment I smelled it. Out of all of the fragrances in this house, I'm going to foreshadow a little bit towards the ranking, but this one really does... It's a very special fragrance, and we've talked on this channel about how the oud rose combo is overplayed and it's just kind of boring at certain times, but this one does not feel overplayed. This actually is a little bit new and revolutionary in its own field, but I think it's lovely that fruitiness really comes out from the plums especially.
I absolutely love this one, and I should just give you a clue. This is my favorite of the 5 we're going to talk about.
Same.
And recently, if you guys caught my video on fruity plums, fruity ouds, this could have ended up on that video. Unfortunately, I didn't have the bottle in time, but it's super amazing. It's got the plums, which is really nicely blended with the oud, but lots of warm notes, almost holiday vibe, like cinnamon and nutmeg, and then the kind of green aromatic touches of the bay leaves. That's super delicious, actually.
Super good, yeah. It's like a very gourmand oud.
Yeah.
If you could imagine.
Yeah, it's very gourmand because it has the spices, but also kind of holiday spice, like almost like a fruity dessert with the vanilla and the plums, plus this kind of oudiness and woodiness. I don't know if this is a very Middle Eastern oud to me. It doesn't come off that way. It's more westernized, but for a nude, I think it's really, really good.
And it feels really quality as well.
Yeah.
It smells like the ingredients they use. Even if it is a synthetic, I mean, we don't know for sure, but even if it is a synthetic oud, it feels as though they have done a very good interpretation, because
I agree.
Certain synthetic ouds just don't smell right. This one, they capture it a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one last thing I should say, what kind of vibes this fragrance gives me is plum japonais vibes. So remember, plum japonais from Tom Ford had oud, but I don't think the oud was very prominent. Here, the oud is very, very prominent, but with the plums in here and the warm spices, the holiday spices, which plum japonais featured, this is giving me that kind of vibe. So if you like the idea of a pronounced oud with plums and those holiday spices and aromatics, definitely check out Delice. I think you'll be happy with it.
Indeed.
So we have a second fragrance we're talking about. It's GnTonic, spelled with G-N, GnTonic. Is that how you say it?
I'd assume so, right? Yeah, it seems about right.
It's a nice way to spell it, but here it is. It's this frosted green colored.
Looks like a gin tonic.
Yeah, it does look like a gin tonic, very aromatic. You've got the name back here. So if you guys don't know, this is a collection of masculine fragrances. So the bottles like this are masculine. They have unisex bottles, masculine bottles, and then they also have feminine bottles. This one is part of the masculine bottles. Yeah. This is created by Sidonie Grandperret. I don't know who that is. Never heard of this perfumer. It's notes of tonic water, lime, ginger, gin, spicy mint, lily of the valley, Bigarade, moss, vetiver, white musk, sandalwood, amber, cypriol, cedar, orange blossom, nutmeg. For a freshie, it has a lot of notes.
Got a whole lot of notes in there.
Do you get GnTonic?
Yeah, I get GnTonic. I get that aromatic vibe. I think it's good. However, for me, it just fell a little flat in my liking, and it wasn't coming after a fragrance like Delice. Like Delice is very
a bit boring, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit boring, and that's one of the main reasons why I ranked it so low in my rankings.
Oh, you're giving them a clue now, huh?
Yes, I am. I'm foreshadowing. Yeah, they know what my number one, and they know what one of my lower rankings is. But yeah, for me, it was very good. All the notes in it play well together. It just fell a little flat.
Okay.
To my liking.
I can see that. It's a freshie in the end. It's a very aromatic, a bit sharp and metallic freshie. I think this is more like appropriate to wear in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll come alive into summer heat as well with the body temps
for sure
heating up. I think it'll amplify. But I like that crispness, the kind of metallic, aromatic, herbal qualities of the gin, or I guess I would assume it's juniper berries, but they're not claiming that it's juniper berries. They're calling it gin, which is what normally goes in to create the gin. So I like it. It's kind of like a GnTonic for me.
Yeah, and I do agree. And honestly, if we were reviewing this in the summertime, my mindset might be different. Who knows?
I can see that. Yeah.
It could be higher.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely, like Sebastian was saying, it's definitely a freshy, warm weather, great scent for that.
Yeah, there's also this kind of cooling effect, and usually juniper does that, or gin in general does that with fragrances, gives you kind of a cooling effect when you're wearing the fragrance. You automatically feel it. It's really kind of cold.
Yeah.
Cold, sharp, and metallic. But yeah, I think it's a solid one. Probably ranked in the middle for me, but you'll find out in a bit. Next fragrance, we're talking about Osaito, another masculine offering, and I've actually spoken about this one quite a bit in videos. And I enjoy this one because it has this note that's not used quite often. It's the myrtle note. The myrtle note has a lot of meaning for me because when I was growing up, we had a myrtle tree. And it has these beautiful little fruits on them that are kind of bitter, interesting, and the flowers smell very interesting. So I really appreciate fragrances that have this myrtle note. And there's also the fragrance from Acqua di Parma called Myrtle de Panarea, which is basically myrtle, myrtle meaning myrtle. And this does kind of remind me of that a little bit, but a bit more myrtle forward here. But it's C notes, myrtle, citruses, grapefruit, musk, marigold, exotic woods, sandalwood, and amber. Thoughts on this one?
I like it a lot. And it's also a freshie, but for whatever reason, this one just outplayed the GnTonic one for me.
I think this one has more substance than GnTonic.
It's a bit more interesting, yeah. And they mentioned C notes, which for me,
it's a tough one.
Yeah,
for me too.
It's tough to palate, and we experienced it with Red Colorado with this house. Not to beat a dead horse, but it is not at all the same C notes that we were getting, at least that I'm getting from Red Colorado. This is very clean, and it's citrusy and aromatic, and it has all these nice nuances to it, but it's all blended so well. And for me, I get a lot of I think the citrus that I'm getting from it is like the grapefruit.
There's a bitterness, right?
Yeah, there is a bitter grapefruit in there. And then the myrtle obviously comes out, adds like a nice little like floral nuance as well. And it's just, I think it's a really lovely, fresh, warmer weather scent.
Yeah.
That is, it could be a signature for sure for anybody.
I thought this was going to go into the kind of very fishy direction when I first heard about it and this, saw it and tested it. But I actually really enjoy the C notes in this fragrance versus something like Red Colorado, which is an overdose of calogne.
Yeah.
There was calogne in that one, right?
I don't even think it was an accredited note. That was the weird thing.
It felt like it was calogne heavy.
Yeah, it did.
Here, it's nice. It's more like a sea breeze breezing against the myrtle tree, and you can smell it off the flowers. It's blowing in the air kind of a thing. There's a breezy, freshness about it, but, got the bitterness, muskiness, floral touches, and woods, of course, when it's drying down. I think this is a great scent.
Would you say it's a windy fragrance? I remember we had that term.
More breezy than windy.
A little breezier.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying that is because normally if you're inside the sea, you're going to get a lot more fishy smell. This is just giving you that kind of breeze where it's kind of flowing in the air with all its sea notes or whatever.
No, I get what you're saying, for sure.
Anyway, so next we've got one called Royal Muska.
There you are. Pretty.
Royal Muska is a feminine offering. As you can see here, we've got the gold and bejeweled kind of a look.
Very pretty.
But it's a musky fragrance. It's called Royal Muska, so it's a Royal Musk or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, right. Makes sense.
So this is musk times 2. There's musk in the heart notes and base notes. We've got benzoin, peaches, ylang ylang, precious woods, Turkish rose, and raspberry. Thoughts on this one?
I enjoy it.
It's quite musky.
Yeah, and it's not super clean. It's not like
there's a bit of funk there.
There's a little bit of funk. It's not animalic, I wouldn't say by any means, but the peaches and the ylang ylang kind of come together to offer a bit of a creaminess to it, which is nice. They kind of combine and do their thing along with the benzoin. It kind of adds in with that. But yeah, fruity, not too clean musk, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it's not like white musk where it's super clean and soapy. This does have a bit of funk, but it's a tolerable, wearable funk. And I think the fruitiness really meshes nicely with the funky musk. And then, of course, when it's drying, it's got that warmth. The benzoin adds some sweetness, some vanillic touches, woods, and then, of course, you've got a little bit of a tropical touch with that yellow floral note of ylang ylang. I think it's definitely great. I might readjust my fragrances.
Yeah.
We'll see. But no, Royal Muska is great. I definitely enjoyed it. It does lean feminine, don't you think?
Yeah, it does lean feminine, and I also can see it sitting very close to the skin for some people. I don't see it as being a massive projecting musk. I see it as more of a skin scent musk.
Okay.
Which, if you're in the market for that, it's great. It's kind of like it's not similar in the scent, but similar in the performance, I would see to like a white suede from Tom Ford. You think?
A fruity take on white suede, for sure.
I could see that, for sure.
For sure, yeah. And then the fifth and final fragrance is Soleil Passion, this one right here. So notes are pomegranate, musk, wild strawberries, water lilies, mandarin orange, ambergris, sandalwood, lily of the valley, and rose. So for me, I'm going to tell you what I think about this one before you say what.
Do you think?
Pomegranates and wild strawberries gives me a very young, girly experience for this fragrance. But I could see this come alive in the heat once again. This is a very fresh fragrance, fresh and fruity and musky at the same time. It's not a bad fragrance. This one actually is ranked low for me.
Yeah, this one for me is ranked higher. So this is where I think me and Sebastian fairly were in agreement on most of these fragrances. This one we had a bit of a disagreement on. I do see what Sebastian's saying. It is a little bit feminine and young girly, but for me it didn't go fully there because the strawberries weren't super sweet. They were, this is going to sound...
Unripened strawberries.
Yeah, it's going to sound not so great, but if you bite into a strawberry that isn't super sweet, I'm sure you folks know what that is like. It's kind of like that, but in this fragrance, it adds a nice touch for me. And the pomegranate's there. It definitely boosts the sweetness a bit and the oranges. But I actually enjoy it quite a bit, and it's not what I usually like, but for some reason it's what I like right now. Soleil Passion's pretty good for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a bad fragrance. If you like fragrances like Dior's Rouge Trafalgar, very fruity fragrances, musky, fresh, I think you would like this one. This is the version by MICALLEF. I just feel like wild strawberries or strawberries in general do come off of a bit... I don't want to use the word Bath and Body Works like, but
I get what you're saying.
There's some, I don't know. It's tough for me. Strawberries are tough. I love strawberries. I love eating them. They don't really have a lot of fragrance, so when they have to amplify the note to make it very fruity, strawberry like, then it goes into smelling kind of fake to me.
Synthetic almost.
Yeah.
And I picked that up as well. Yeah, I totally understand.
I mean, there's fragrances like Imaginary Authors Cape Heartache, which has that strawberry note in there. I like that.
Yeah.
Even though it kind of has that girly characteristic or appeal, I just feel like that is a little more interesting here. It just goes into kind of a synthetic strawberry smell. But I think it's nice.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. So, shall we rank it for them?
Let's do it, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to start first?
Yeah, let's start.
Okay.
Number 5, we're starting off with GnTonic.
Okay.
And, again, like I mentioned before, fell a little flat. Could be seasonal, even though I'm contradicting myself because Osaito is also a freshie, and I'm ranking that one higher. So, yeah, something about GnTonic just fell a little bit flat for me. I've smelled other gin and tonic inspired fragrances, and this one wasn't necessarily a standout from what else I've smelled, and that's just me personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going with Soleil Passion at number 5, and you just heard about the strawberries. Yeah, it's a bit young and girly, and it's kind of like the Bath and Body Works kind of thing comes up, which there's nothing wrong with Bath and Body Works. I know a lot of people that buy things from there, but they do amplify that fruitiness too much and then start smelling fake. It doesn't smell like real fruits. And I like the smell of real fruits. The pomegranate's okay in this one. And I again, nothing wrong. I might... What the hell is that? This is the second time I heard it.
Really?
Yeah. You were talking one time. You didn't hear it.
Oh, my gosh.
What was I saying?
You were talking about the synthetic fruitiness.
Yeah. So, yeah, something about the whole idea of when you're amplifying the smell of a fruit, it just turns synthetic rather than natural. So I'm ranking Soleil Passion at 5.
Sounds good.
Okay, what's your number 4?
On to number 4, we're going with Royal Muska. And this one was very good, but again, I typically, in fragrances, I've mentioned this, I like it when fragrances perform. I like it when they are going to be a bit more of a beast mode fragrance. And especially with my musks, I like my musks to be a little bit more pronounced. Something about musky, strong musky fragrances is just very appealing to me. And this one didn't necessarily have that projection and longevity that I was expecting. However, the scent profile is very nice. It also does lean a little bit feminine, but I do enjoy the scent profile for sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with GnTonic at number 4. And I agree with what Joe said about this fragrance. But in the end, it's very fresh, crisp, metallic, sharp, aromatic, spicy. Does do act like a GnTonic.
Yeah.
But it's not as exciting, and it's a bit falls flat after a while. But it's just kind of, I don't want to use the word dumb reach. It could be acting like a dumb reach kind of a fragrance.
Yeah. When
you don't know what you want to wear, you pull something very fresh and invigorating, and it'll be GnTonic.
It's not always a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have that. Sometimes you don't want to think about what you're wearing, and you just go put it on.
The other thing I want to say is it does kind of fall into the blue fragrances category a little bit.
Yeah.
Which doesn't appeal to me too much, but I think it's solid.
Yeah.
Okay.
On to number 3, we got Osaito.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed Osaito. I found it to be... It was different for a freshie for me. It had, like Sebastian mentioned when we were reviewing it earlier in the video, it has depth. It has a lot of different things going on in it, and the C notes are C notes that I actually enjoy, and I don't find a lot of fragrances with enjoyable C notes for my liking, you know?
Me too.
When you stumble upon one like that, at least in my case, I tend to be like, oh, this is a aquatic C note marine fragrance that I can actually enjoy and wear and get behind. So for those reasons, I have that at number 3. I think it's a really good freshie, and even though we are in the colder months right now, once those warmer months come around, definitely going to be wearing that a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for my number 3, I'm going with Royal Muska. I think it's solid. It's nice and musky. It's not white musk. It does have a bit of funk, but wearable. I like the fruits against it. It does really blend really well. I don't mind fragrances that sit close, and musks generally do sit close, and so that part was not a problem for me. But overall, a nicely done musk. It does lean feminine for sure, and I can totally get away with wearing it. It's very cozy. Musks are very cozy,
yeah.
But the fact that this has fruitiness in it, it gives it a little bit more of a playful vibe rather than being a bit serious and, laid back.
Yeah, for sure. Number 2 is going to be, this is the disagreement here, Soleil Passion.
Yeah.
I have that one at number 2 based off of the reason. It might be a thing where I don't smell strawberry in fragrances too often. That could be part of the reason why I was kind of excited by this fragrance.
Okay.
And I just don't typically see strawberry as a note in too many fragrances, or at least in the fragrances that I usually are...
It doesn't come up.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw that as kind of a creative leap for this house, which I appreciate and I respect that. And I do agree with Sebastian. It does get a bit synthetic. I think the strawberry is still not uber sweet and fruity, jammy vibe. I think some of that might be coming from the orange and the pomegranate possibly. For the strawberry, I got a little bit more of that unripened strawberry aspect that I mentioned before. But I think it's a fun fragrance, and although I don't typically rank young girly fragrances high, I'm doing it here for the creative leap.
Okay.
Good job, MICALLEF.
All right, and then my number 2 is Osaito. I've been a fan of this fragrance ever since it came out. I've mentioned in videos many times. And I've also been a fan of Myrtle de Panarea from Acqua di Parma. And I like the usage of Myrtle as a note. I really love the smell of it. And the little berries that it has, those are pretty edible. I don't know if you guys have ever eaten it or not.
I haven't, no.
Yeah. So it's a great fragrance. It's fresh, and the fact that it's got sea notes, it's not cologne, it doesn't smell fishy. Just a very breezy, sea breeze kind of an experience with all the notes that are in there. I think it's great.
Quite lovely.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And I think we don't agree with anything on the list except for the number 1. And we agree with this one.
It's a good one.
Really, really agree with this one.
Yeah. I'm going to actually get the card out.
Delice. Delice is number 1 for both of us.
It is.
It's so good.
So good.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
And it does give me Plum Japonais vibes. For sure. If you're on the hunt for Plum Japonais, can't get it.
Yeah.
Get a sample of this and see if it works for you.
Really good yin and yang between the sweet and the dirty. Like, it sits right in that pocket that you're not getting too much of either world. You're getting it right in the middle.
It's a nice balance.
It is a really good balance, really well blended. And Plum kind of had a year last year, if I'm not mistaken, or 2 years ago. There were a lot of Plum fragrances. When was that? It's like last year,
2-3 years ago, I think.
Yeah, and with this one, I mean, it could have fit into that year really well, but it's a fantastic fragrance, and yeah, really well done with Delice.
Yeah. I wish I had the bottle to feature in the Fruity Oud video, but we're talking about it here now. It's a great fruity oud. It's definitely not Rosen Oud, which we've been, forced to enjoy so many. And I think now I'm seeing these fruity ouds that come up. That's kind of a breath of fresh air versus just like Rosen Oud, Rosen Oud, Rosen Oud.
Gets a little redundant.
Yeah, and then the plum is not a fruit that comes up too often in fragrances, so it's a breath of fresh air here. So definitely for the both of us, Delice is number 1.
Great fragrance.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know. The fragrances are sold at Max Aroma, and I have a link in the info box for each of the fragrances. You can go buy the fragrances there. And I did notice some sales for these fragrances, so time to purchase some fragrances, guys. Check them out.
Y'all. Get to it.
Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.